Yes, we're back with another rider, another episode. Today we have a very interesting guy. He's a miner and he mines all manner of natural resources, but more importantly for you guys, he's an entertainer when it comes to telling a story. I'm going to have to ask him to recap on his stories, but without further ado, nice to have you here today, Cameron.
Hi, it's good to meet you, Simon.
So you've been in the mining business a while?
Yeah, 10, 11 years. I got in 2011 in working with a Dutch company called Fugro. They do airborne and ground geophysics. So I was on the helicopter side of the industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us the story. I know you just told us those stories. Tell us the story about the wolf.
There was one of our competitors, I was there, had a survey crew. It was in northern Saskatchewan. And they were on an exploration program for uranium deposits. And they had flown into an area with a helicopter, set up camp. So there was a handful of tents, a kitchen tent, residential tents, geophysics tents. And when the helicopter set down, it attracted the attention of 3 wolves. And while the camp was being set up, these wolves were watching the setup happening. They kept a distance, about 100 feet or so. And the survey crew, which is about 5-6 people at the time, they'd noticed the wolves. So you make a mental note of like the wildlife that you see in the area for a couple of reasons. If there's sensitive species, you got to pay attention to that. If there's threats, you obviously have to pay attention to that. So this was a species of threat to the safety of the camp. After a few days, the wolves had always shown themselves. There was always 3 of them, just keeping their distance, watching the camp, watching the helicopter go off, do surveying. When the helicopter's off, that's the pilot, the geophysics operator. There's a camp crew that sticks around. And this one day, about a week or so into the survey, the one operator went back to his tent, noticed that there were 2 wolves about 40, 50 feet away from his tent. He ran into his tent, grabbed his camera. He wanted to get a picture of a couple of big wolves. So grabbed his camera, he started to focus to take pictures. These 2 wolves were playing with each other, like chasing tails. And as he was about to take the picture, the 2 wolves ran away 20, 30 feet, slightly out of focus. So this fellow walked forward 20, 30 feet, refocused. The 2 wolves are playing with each other. He was about to take another picture. They ran away another 20, 30, 40 feet out of focus. This happened 3 or 4 times. They were luring him away from his camp. But there was 2 of them. Originally, there was 3. He kneeled down at one point on one knee to take a picture, and as he was about to hit the shutter, the 3rd wolf attacked him from in behind his neck on the left side, took him down. The other 2 wolves came in, and the 3 of them tore him to...
Did they eat him or they just killed him?
They killed him.
So they didn't even eat him?
No.
Why don't...
The sound of what happening had attracted the other camp operators, again, because you can't be alone in the camps. You always have to keep an eye on your colleagues, and you have to have your colleagues in line of sight all the time. Another friend of mine, actually from Dublin, went to Trinity College, took geology. He was on a geophysics program in Alaska, and there were, I think, 4 or 5 of them across a range, a good distance from each other, but they could see each other. And somebody said, "Rory, there's a brown bear not too far from you."
And they can run fast.
Yes, they can.
I was watching Joe Rogan and the thing was running.
Yeah.
And it runs up to 30 miles an hour.
Oh, I believe it.
How can you be 2 tons and run at 30 miles an hour?
No.
That means fat people got no excuse.
Well, pick it downhill. Pick it downhill. Pick it downhill.
30 miles an hour and you're 2 tons. What?
This thing was it was following him as he was walking. Of course, the other operators were hundreds of feet away, but they could see him. And Rory, what you're not supposed to do is look at it in the eye. So they were radioing him, just saying, he's 50 feet away, he's 40 feet away from you, make noises. Obviously, he got out of it. But again,
so what did they said make noises, so you meant make loud noises like bang.
But don't look at them in the eye, because that's
a threat.
It's
a competition.
Yeah.
Come on, if you think you're hard enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that something? Yeah.
I think that's the same with apes, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, You don't look them in the eye.
And they lure you in as well.
Yeah.
They look at you like, hey, come play.
Yeah.
Come talk to us. Come on.
Yeah. Incredible, eh? Absolutely incredible.
There's that primal predatorial.
It's so basic, isn't it? I think we forgot about that. But yeah.
So all these people, they must get briefed on what they did wrong, assuming they survive.
Always. Yeah. So each day starts and ends with safety briefings, safety lessons learned.
But surely you have a hunter or somebody who's dropped in with them straight away.
But in a lot of cases,
if you're setting up people 5 meters apart, like a distance apart, you need a sniper, just going to hire an ex-military sniper person.
Sometimes it depends on the country, depends on the region, and it depends just like there's so much project work. Like these camp operators can be away for months on end. They'll spend a few days in one location, then they mobilize to a different location, hundreds of kilometers away. So
these are all engineers.
Engineers, earth scientists, geoscientists, yeah.
So let's just, before you tell another story, what's an earth scientist? That's the person who works out the earth plates moving.
Studies, the science of the earth.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's any range of sciences from geochemistry to geophysics, geology, geological engineering, seismic,
So when you lot are mining, you must come across like ancient stuff and all these things.
Actually one of the interesting regions to do work in is Turkey. And interesting because of the sites that you come across. Frustrating because it's an old civilization. So every 20 minutes there's a new artifact find, and as soon as there's an artifact find,
It's paused.
project stops.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I get you. So you got an engineer, just basic engineer is a person who deals with the mechanic.
Engineers, the geoscientists, pilots, co-pilots, operators, support crew.
So the pilots are obviously the people who fly the plane and do the seismic surveys.
Planes and helicopters. Yeah, actually the Dutch company that I worked for, Fugro, at the time, they had 60 offshore marine seismic ships, about 110 aircraft between helicopter and mostly fixed wing. They would charter the helicopters. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Fantastic stories. I've, like I said, before, I've tried leaving the industry time and time again, and every time I look at something else, it's like, it's not the same. But my first day with Fugro, first day in the industry, that's when they had relayed the story about the wolf attack as part of the safety debrief and the safety culture, what we were having to deal with. And I thought, wow, what have I walked into?
Because that guy, if you think about it, technically, he actually stopped work to go and take photos.
Yes.
So that was like, what are you doing? You're paid to work. Just crack on the work, but you're walking, following, taking.
When
photos.
you're out in the field, it's a 7-day-a-week operation. So these guys when they go on tours, they'll be gone for months at end. So they'll have a week or a few days in one location. They'll mobilize and then fly and drive to a different location. They're always moving.
So they get paid a lot of money then.
It depends on the company. I would say, in pounds, probably the geophysicists are probably 50,000, 60,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. When you consider the schooling that they go
If you're
through of
dealing
all
with-
the science disciplines.
Yeah, if you're dealing with wolves and stuff and wild animals, tell the story about the snake.
So a friend of mine, it was her colleague, actually it was interesting. So she's a recruiter, and she had hired a company in Madagascar was looking for a type of engineer to work in a project. Mary found this candidate, interviewed him, hired him, the offer was made, guy got hired, deployed to camp in Madagascar, and flew, I'm not sure where he came from, but flew to Madagascar. It was the first day in the job. He was settling into the camp. It was a fixed accommodations, so building, standard camp buildings, not tents. And he was settling into his room, and he unpacked, was going to bed. It had been a long flight. He laid down, and something brushed past his chin. Turned his lights off, went to bed. Something brushed past his chin. He thought it was like a fly or something. So he kind of brushed it with his fingers. But a minute or so later, the same sensation had brushed by the top of his forehead at his hairline, just lightly, like a fly would buzz your skin. So he kind of brushed that again, and then same thing again happened a third time, again on the chin. So he kind of brushed it away, thinking, it was a fly buzzing around. A minute later, this black mamba had struck his jaw, and the black mamba is Africa's most venomous, I believe, Africa's most venomous.
So the snake wasn't trying to eat him?
No, I don't think so. They're highly aggressive snakes, angry, I think, all the time. But so they had anti-venom at the camp. They'd administer that, got him to a hospital. He did lose a third of his jaw because of that. And that was
lot to lose, man.
First day on the job, first brand new job.
That's not enough money for 60k and losing my face, man.
Yeah.
But someone needs to teach him jungle drills.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean, these things always get in, right? Somehow. There's always another company that I worked for. It was a geophysics company. They had one of their operators actually was on a mountainous site, slipped and fell off of a cliff, and he wasn't tethered, and tumbled and was killed.
Yeah.
But there's these unusual stories. You never hear two of the same story because, again, they share.
A lot of it is not common. Is stupidity. Every story you've told me so far, the guy walked off following the rules. Why would you do that?
That was dumb.
Yeah. All right. This guy, he's in the jungle. Something brushed your face. Don't just do that.
Yeah.
You need to
scope the room.
Let's get up quickly. Move. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You should have checked your bedding before you even lie down.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? But it's interesting because the third story you told me about the snake and the road.
Yeah.
So how did that work again? Because I remember some other guy was telling me a similar story, but it was obviously a different story. But was that in the jungle?
Southern Africa. So my boss had been driving between camps. He was in a Jeep moving some equipment, and he was driving. The local operative that was helping them out was in the passenger seat. They're driving down this dirt road, doing 80, 90 kilometers an hour, and he noticed this thing wiggling across the road, and it was a black mamba. So
wait, the black mamba, that must mean it's a big. If he's noticed it crossing the road,
they're sizable.
It's like my arm.
Yeah,
easily.
Yeah. They're angry animals. But so my boss it was coming from his right toward the vehicle. My boss was swerving to the left to avoid him. The operators grabbed the wheel and said, hit him. He was trying to kill him, because what ended up happening was the snake recoiled and threw itself at the Jeep, trying to go after it.
Was it trying to get into the occupants?
I think that was the attempt, or it was just launching at the vehicle, but that's why the fellow said kill it, because it's going to jump at and it did.
Yeah, because like lions on those safari 4x4s, they can't tell the difference between human beings and a vehicle.
I know.
But think about it, the day they can, everyone's in trouble.
I know. Incredible.
The day it takes one stupid tourist, probably a Western tourist, to stick their arm out and go, hey!
I know.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And that's it. It's all over.
Yeah.
It's all over.
Yeah. Something, eh?
This man was telling me he was into snakes, and he was driving home.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's in South America or Africa.
Yeah.
And when they were driving home, he's from England, and they saw this log kind of thing across the road, the dirt road, and it was dark black.
Yes.
So he said, you know what the man did? He jumped out the vehicle and grabbed it and started to pull it and say, come and help me, because he collects snakes and he's all this like environmental thing.
Yeah.
And the man said, what are you doing? Leave it alone, man. And then all he heard was,
yeah.
And like the other end, he started to think. He said, I couldn't hold on to it. It's that big. He said, it is like a pipe.
Yeah.
Like a 6-inch pipe. Imagine that.
Yeah.
I was trying to hold on to it. And he said, thank God the driver just grabbed me.
Yeah.
Kind of threw me in the thing and just started to reverse. Because all you heard was this body thing. I think you would call it that recoil, just coming.
Yes. Yeah.
Back.
You know, it's funny, an old friend of mine a few years ago, she was taking a break and was hiking, I think it was through India. And her and a friend took a break from the project. And had been hiking around this bushy area, and she had to go to the washroom. So she saw this clearing with a tree that was fell down on the ground. So she said to her friend, yeah, stay here, I'm going to go to the bathroom over here. She went toward the tree that had fallen down. Kim was looking around. She dropped her shorts to do her thing, and then that tree started moving forward. Then she realized that wasn't a tree. Yeah. She said she didn't even stop to pick up her shorts. She just started running to get away from it.
That's like a Crocodile Dundee, you know, with the Sheila.
Right.
Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sheila. You only last 5 minutes out there. Yes, I would. You have to get water for the lake, and the crocodile just goes, some people, some situations. To me, it still comes down to the obvious. We have a thing in diving. I used to dive.
Okay.
And the guy who took me was a very staunch German. He's a bit of a stormtrooper guy.
Yeah.
And he said, you have touched me not. So you don't... If it swims slow, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And you touch it, you die.
Yeah.
And if it swims fast, it doesn't want to be touched.
Yeah.
So don't touch anything.
No.
When you're snorkeling or diving.
Basic.
Leave it all to...
It sounds basic. It sounds basic, but people get caught all the time. Yeah. All the time.
It's
incredible.
Have you ever had any mad experiences yourself?
No, I've been lucky because I'm on the commercial team. The people that I've worked with are the ones that end up going to the remote areas. So I've been fortunate. I like trips like this, just fly in for a day or two and then fly back out. So this week, I left home last Saturday, went to Johannesburg for a day and a half, and then to Addis for a day, and then flew up here just for a day and a half as well. So it's those kind of trips. So I've been lucky.
You were talking about, we talked about Africa and how the Earth split.
Yeah.
What do you reckon is the reason for that? And do you reckon it's going to get any worse?
So I'm not a geoscientist, so I would absorb my data from the people that I've worked with. But the Earth is a living, breathing, moving entity. It does move naturally, organically, every day, very slowly, but there's intrusions like in this industry. The moment you disturb the surface, it has a ripple effect for what's below us.
I heard that's how mountains are formed, by earth plates gliding together.
Or volcanoes. Volcanoes have a lot to do with it too.
Okay.
Yeah. But you see ranges like across the Alps, very, very old mountain range. Their structures are very different, say, from the newer mountain ranges, which tend to be bigger.
The Everest, the Himalayas, is that where Everest is?
Yes.
So that's probably one of the oldest mountain ranges.
Yeah. It's funny, actually, I flew past Kilimanjaro the other day too. But yeah, no, it's pretty interesting. It's an interesting group of nerds, and they can. It was a few years ago. I was making a coffee at the office, and something wasn't working out in how I was making the coffee, and one of the geophysicists came by and he was telling me the science about how to make the perfect coffee. And he took a delicious drink and he just made it so boring to listen to. And
but was he wrong though?
No, he was right. But he was talking about grinding speeds, the proper size of the grind, the optimal boiling temperature, the length of time it has to be. And it's like, oh my God, I just want a cup of coffee.
Yeah, so that's where you need a sales guy to be able to pitch his information in a sexy,
parse it down into something bite-sized. Make it. It was funny when I had interviewed for the job in 2011. I wasn't from the industry at all. I had been dealing with engineering on the auto parts manufacturing side. So when I saw the job posting, they were looking for somebody that had technical sales experience, but not from mining. So when the company explained, what they did, it was airborne geophysics, I had no idea those words had ever existed. I didn't know what airborne geophysics was, and then they, had offered me the job, and I thought, have I got a lot to learn? Mm-hmm. But it's an industry where you have to deal with multidisciplinary.
So you had to do a lot of reading and studying.
Yeah. So I've moved from exploration downstream through the engineering side. So through the construction, the engineering process of either underground or open pit mines or tailings, to the construction of these and the operation. So I've kind of moved downstream a little bit. So a friend of mine actually works, he's a geotechnical engineer at a site in northern Canada. And this is not terribly deep, but he works at the 1,800 meter level below surface. And I've been into a couple of my sites, and it feels there's a lot of earth on top of you.
Okay.
There's a lot of earth on top of you.
What's the deepest mine you've been in, Darren?
For me, it's only been a couple hundred meters below surface. So not terribly deep, but Africa has among the deepest on earth, and also...
Is it 15 kilometers deep, the deepest mine?
I don't think it's 15. I have heard 6,000.
1,000 meters or feet?
Meters, sorry. Meters. There was a mine operation, had an incident last year in Burkina.
Burkina Faso.
Yeah. And it was an open pit and an underground mine in fairly arid area, but they had one of these 100-year storms, and around the open pit was a berm that was built up to help prevent any rush of water. But in 1 hour, they had received 120 mils of rain, and because it's an arid environment, the rain stayed on surface. This volume of water breached the berm around the open pit, went down. I'm not sure how deep the open pit was. I mean, they can be 200-300 meters, but at the bottom of the open pit was the adit, or the entryway to the underground surface. The water rushed to the bottom of the open pit, went through basically the portal into the underground, and killed 8 miners at the 2,000 meter level. And there's pumps set up. I mean, there's evacuation systems that are set up. There's rescue cells and safe room cells that are set up below ground. But it took about a week or so for
to retrieve the bodies.
Yeah.
So surely when you're mining, you have to compensate for the lack of for the vegetation you move.
Yeah, so there are, typically, again, it depends on the country, but when mine plans are being submitted to government, mine remediation has to be addressed as part of that plan submission, and it takes a long time for mines to get through the approval process, because the environmental side, it is a destructive industry. There's no two ways about it. But it's an interesting industry. Again, my background's not in the science side, so I listen to these highly intelligent people talking about how to remediate and deal with remediating the environmental footprint that they've created. And it's really interesting to see how they spend, it feels like 6-7 days a week of their lives trying to
overcome problems, issues, circumstances.
It's humbling to listen to. The intelligence is absolutely astounding. There was a fellow last night at this event, young guy, was a graduate from Oxford in geology. I mean, the UK has some of the best schools for mining. There's one out in Cornwall, the Camborne School of Mines, world renowned for mining engineering.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny because the UK's influence in mining, typically the 4 big countries for mining would be Australia, South Africa, Chile, Canada. But you cannot discount at all the London presence, because when it comes to capitalizing these projects, I mean, you need $1 billion, $2 billion, $5 billion to do this. There's very few cities on earth that are equipped, but London has that capital market structure. So it's interesting. But on the environmental side, there's I think a lot more concern within the industry now, and I think that's driven demographically. The average age of somebody that was in mining when I had started 10, 11 years ago was quite old. And it kind of felt like, you were being told what to do. It was like, the team's like, I'm telling you this is what you're going to do. You do what I tell you to do. Don't question me. But you've got, at the time, the average age was 69 years old in the industry. Well, now it's come down considerably because these guys have retired off, right? So, but you're seeing a lot of decision makers in their 30s now employing technologies, employing concepts, employing their beliefs, and really, understanding that what the industry does is harsh. But there's an expression that gets used in the industry. In your average life, everything that you touch as a person, if it's not grown, it's mined. And then you look at your car, you look around your house, you look at the possessions in your house. It's generally our lives are impacted by the extractive resources. So it's kind of interesting because we leave a footprint. We absolutely leave a footprint.
Well, Carmen, that's been a great interview.
Thanks a lot.
We appreciate informing us.
Thanks so much.
About the mining industry, and we wish you well in your journey, and please do not get eaten by wolves or bitten by a black mamba.
I'll try not to. Thanks very much.
And we hope you have a safe flight.
Thanks very much. Take care, Sam. It's a pleasure to meet you.
We hope that episode enhanced your life. We post an interview every day, as well as vlogging on our social media channels. Don't forget to subscribe to get our latest episode.